Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Business Brunch live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, everywhere across the world, globally. We're all over the place. You can't get rid of us. And also hopefully on Chris's LinkedIn channel as well now, fingers crossed. Welcome back to all our regular viewers, and hello to anyone who's just stumbled across this and thought, what on earth is going on? This show is for aspiring and inspiring leaders and anybody really that wants to learn, evolve, thrive, grow, has a growth mindset. On this show, we do our very best to share something insightful, teach you something, just help you think of something a little differently to help you with your week and make it go with a bang. And today we are absolutely delighted to be joined by the wonderful Chris O'Connell, who I'm not going to introduce. I think everybody's going to know who you are anyway, right? I mean, global superstar on LinkedIn. How many followers? 60 million, was it? Or something like that. 67,000. I mean, a lot. So if you don't know who Chris is, please check him out. But Chris, just want to pop over to you quickly, just a quick intro. Who are you? What do you do? And how can they find you?
I'll do a very short intro. Chris O'Connell, leadership coach, podcast host, NED, mental health advocate, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, probably the best three.
Okay, cool. Chris is all over the shop. He's very, very busy and he's going to be sharing, and I don't mean that in a bad way, I mean that in a really good way. But you share a lot of really useful, helpful, inspiring posts on LinkedIn, but all over the place as well. So please do check Chris out. But today we're going to be talking with Chris about how you become the CEO of your own life, how to do it, what to watch out for, what are the pitfalls, and also, you know, why bother? What are the successes you're going to have? And that's not all of it. I mean, there's so much we want to talk to Chris about. He's launching something called 1,000 Women. What was it? 1,000 influential women.
1,000 and plus women who have inspired through their work on LinkedIn. It's basically a LinkedIn directory of amazing women.
Right. We're all on it, of course. Obviously. But we want to hear about that. There's so much going on. But before we do that, just a quick intro. I'm Sarah Farmer. I'm an executive coach, and I work with senior leaders and executives and C-suites, helping them develop the mindset and the skills to achieve phenomenal results. And I'm joined, as ever, by the wonderful Melinda Ward and Vanessa Ashworth. Melinda, do you want to just do a quick intro of who you are?
Sure. My name is Melinda Ward. I am the Director of Consulting Solutions and Managed Services for Helm 360, and also the founder of the Consultant Mentor. Based in London, although my accent doesn't really sound like it, and just a little warm today.
Yeah, it is. If you're not in the UK, well, actually, Vanessa's in Manchester and she's wearing a cardigan, so that's how different it is. Down here in the south, it is sweaty. So we're all just a little glowy at the moment. But Vanessa in Manchester, feeling the cold.
Not at all. It's just that this room is quite cool because the sun doesn't, even though I'm surrounded by glass, it's kind of conservatory, but there's no sun gets in, so it's nice. And I'm wearing this just to cover up my shoulders and bra strap.
Okay.
Very professional.
It's strategic.
Strategic, yes, because I am a strategic marketer. There you go. Marketing communications is my bag. And I talk a lot about how you can make LinkedIn work for you. So yeah, but we've got loads of people saying hello in the comments. Really important. So please say hello. If you don't see any of those comments yet, we are going live on something like 11, 12, 13 different channels. So it might be that you're the only one on that channel who's brave enough to say hello. But do say hello to us and do ask questions. And then every so often, whilst Chris and Sarah are talking, I'll interject and bring your comments on board. But shall we do that now? Shall we have a quick
hi?
Hello to everyone.
Hi to everybody.
Can I just say, Karen says it's 36 in Manchester.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, Karen.
There's a few familiar faces. Joe Major, Karen on there. So guys, thank you for joining. And some new people.
Fabulous. So Danny is usual. Thank you for takes notifications for this. There you go, because he follows all of us.
We won't let you get away with this, Danny. You have to be with us.
Has to. I mean, can you imagine? He'll have to send a note if he doesn't turn up.
Need a whole pass.
If the dog hasn't swallowed your homework, you're in, Danny.
Absolutely, yeah. So LinkedIn user says, hi, Vanessa. Hello, whoever you are.
What
Lovely
about
to
us?
see you.
Hi, Chris.
No, just for me, actually. Thank you. Ashley is here and he says, good afternoon. It's a full house. It is. We've got all the screen. Janet says, hello, nice to be a part of this session. It's nice to have you with us. Karen Dale is afternoon, everyone. She told us it's 36 in Manchester. I think it was Karen. Oh, Joe Major says, hi, Chris. Can't wait to hear from you. There you go.
Hello, Joe. Joe's one of my besties on here.
Oh, that's nice.
And Lisa Heighton, check this out. So LinkedIn users tagged someone. Do check this out.
Yeah, and do share with others. Now's a great time to tag in people who would really benefit from this show. So they have time to connect before Chris starts spilling his pearls of wisdom.
Good.
Fun me or fun me? She wants to be part of your 1,000. I tell you what, Chris, you have just hit gold here, mate.
I know. Yeah. There's going to be more issues. So if they're not on the first one, there'll be other issues. We're going to go up to 10,000, all being well.
Mm-hmm.
That's excellent. Jonathan says, hey, guys. Zoe Lomas is here from Hope 4. So she says, greetings from Moldova. It's
Hey. Hi,
Bless
Zoe.
you, Zoe and team out there doing such amazing work. Amici is here in the Midlands.
Actually, in the Midlands, my parents are up there. It's about 40 degrees already, apparently. So, yeah, keep it cool, Amici, up there.
So warm in Danny's office that he thinks he just saw Nelly and his crew turn up. What does that mean? Who knows? Who knows? Nelly. Okay. It's getting hot in here. Is he taking off all his clothes? Was that
let's hope not.
Well, as long as you're not on screen, it's absolutely fine.
Stranger things.
I don't know about Nelly, but I did see a couple of hobbits come through carrying a ring. So, yeah, just
okay.
Janet says, thanks for the invite to Chris. And there we go. We have another. Oh, it's Rachel who says hello. So hello, Rachel. And Danny says, Rachel, it's a privy setting of it. So there we go.
He's like a back office king.
One new one just slid in there.
One new one just slid in there at the end. Anthony, also from Hope, well, not from Hope, he volunteers and wants to support Hope 4, the charity in Moldova and in Ukraine. So hello, Anthony. Great to see you here from Portsmouth. Oh my goodness, there's more and more people jumping in. And for me, she's just come out from the Midlands today and it was boiling.
All right. Do you know what? Okay. Let's just say hi to Roxanne.
Hello.
It's the Northwest sweltering up there. Hi, Roxanne. Okay. Normally we share a little bit about our weekends, but do you know what? I don't think we will. We've got so many people coming in. We were just hot. I was coming back from Corfu, had a lovely holiday. Thanks for asking. And I think unless Melinda, Vanessa, you've got something absolutely burning you want to share about your weekends. I know, Vanessa, you did something fabulous.
As always.
It's always doing fabulous things.
Yeah, up on the hill again. You know me, Rivington.
Up on the hill.
Yeah.
And Chris went camping. I'm doing a very quick overview. Melinda probably wore a tiara on a tube because she does that kind of thing. This weekend?
I helped my friend move into a new apartment and went to a barbecue.
Ah, lovely. And Waggy's in. Hi, Waggy. And Amir. Hello. Right, Chris.
Hot tub. There you go. That was
we need to hear from you. So we're going to start. I think, Chris, I know we've talked before, and you gave me a potted history of what's happened to you and how you've kind of pivoted and turned and come back stronger and all the rest of it. It's quite a story, and we don't have time for the whole thing. But are you okay to give us a little bit of backstory as to how have you become who you are today, and then we'll move into how do you become a CEO of your own life?
Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and you ladies for inviting me on this wonderful show. I'm really happy to be here. I'll go right back to birth. I'll try and do it in about 5 to 10 minutes because I've done it a few times now, and I think I can nail it, hopefully. I was born in a caravan when I was 2 and my brother was 3. My dad came home from work to find me hanging out the caravan naked. So my mum basically left us there and abandoned us overnight and didn't turn up for anything like the court case or access and just basically left. My dad wasn't emotionally intelligent or able or financially ready or anything to actually look after 2 young infants or boys. So I was fostered for 4 years. Then I was taken back by him, and kind of his stepmom was quite abusive to me. So the first 2 female figures in my life were not great role models, which, if I can swear, fucks me up, right? But what it did do, it made me very driven in my career. So I kind of battled through school, was very shy, felt very inferior, very different to everybody else, and just thought, you know, my mum's rejected me, my stepmom's kind of beat me up and done other stuff to me as well. And it's kind of, I just felt very different, alone, aloof, and just not part of society really. And so I struggled through my early part of the first sort of 15, 16 years of my life really. Battled through that, went to a grammar school somehow, and then went to university whilst I was working at a business called SThree, which is a big corporate recruiter with 4,000 or 5,000 consultants in this massive kind of hardcore sales environment. So I walked in there very shy, you know, you wouldn't put that environment aligned to me at all. But for some reason I took to it like a duck to water. People standing up, you know, with Ferraris and, you know, shiny shoes and sending ice to Eskimos. But I knocked the doors off. In the first year I became the UK top biller, and then I became the worldwide top biller across, as I say, 4,000 consultants, 20 countries, and 60 offices. And I made them, I was billing about £1 million a year. Then became a manager, director, and in 5 years made them 15 million quid and loved it. So the art of recruitment, it kind of fell to me, but I really enjoyed the concept of that. I left there, set up my own business in 2003, got that to 100 staff, 14 industry awards, £30 million annual turnover. We were the second fastest growing recruitment business in the UK. We won 3 Virgin Fast Track 100 awards in a row. But also awards for our culture. We're the second greatest company to work for in Europe. Loads of these amazing awards, right? And it was a fantastic experience and fantastic achievement. But every time I got there, I got to like 5 million, 10 million, 15 million, 20 million, 25 million. You know, every time I got to these kind of amazing numbers, it was kind of like an anticlimax. I was like, oh, I was always like pushing for more. So that was a phenomenal, successful period of my life. Millionaire at 26, 27, could buy pretty much what I wanted, and I did. I kind of took all that for granted, which I'll explain. But then one day my business partner walked in. It was in our 9th year. I was just about to open up Australia and Paris, and literally where that business would be now is mind-boggling to think. It would be as big as a Hayes or a Reed. I think it was just so far ahead of its time. And I was also Southwest Entrepreneur of the Year. It was just a brilliant business. But he wanted to get out. So my business partner. So I couldn't afford to buy him out because I didn't have a spare sort of 12.5 million quid, my half of the business. So I did a deal with a private equity firm. And the first year it went really well, but the second year it kind of went south. I can't really go into detail due to an NDA that I signed, but I lost the entire business. So I lost 25 million quid. I lost 7 houses. I lost access to my children. I lost my family home. Got divorced, lost my sanity, tried to commit suicide 3 times, and it really messed me up. It really did mess me up. So one of the times I was, you know, absolutely convinced I was going to commit suicide. The build up to that was a week, and I got in my car, drove to a planned out train station, was waiting for a train to pass, had it all planned out, and for some reason the train didn't come that day, but or didn't stop that day. And I was just about to jump actually when it came, and I got a phone call and it jumped me out of it. It jumped me out of doing that, and thank God it did, because I've got young children. And I'll talk about my thoughts on suicidal ideation and people calling suicide selfish. It's not selfish. It's there's a lot more to it than that, and I'll go into it. But I'm just glad that I obviously didn't do that. So there was this 5-year period of darkness, right, where I lost my purpose, lost my identity, and didn't know what I wanted to do. I just, it was a very difficult time. But when I moved out of the family home was when I started to look at things differently. I started to pivot and started to kind of believe in myself again. I was invited onto something like this, like a webinar like this, actually a global webinar by one of my friends, and asked to do a talk on anything I wanted. And I chose vulnerability and leadership, and it absolutely blew up. And that was kind of my catalyst to kind of build my own personal brand again. In the last 3 years, I've been too big-headed. I've done quite well on LinkedIn. I've got 70,000 connections. I get 2 million views a month. I've built an NED business that I'm renowned and well referenced for, where I've got a portfolio of clients where I now teach business owners how to scale, but using my experiences, using my successes, and also my dark times as well. So I believe things like compassion, empathy, vulnerability, all that kind of softer skills are actually the harder skills, and they're the ones that you want. I've got a podcast going now, which I'm really pleased about, on mental health first aider, mental health advocate, and I'm loving life. And I'm also recently launching a LinkedIn directory of inspirational women, which I can talk about as well. That's quite a long introduction. Sorry.
No, it's you know what? I mean, I think we all just sat there going, I often think the reason that people do really well is because they've got something monumentous that's happened to them. But I don't think it's not just that, is it? You clearly have something about you, and thank God, whatever it was that stopped you from jumping, because whatever it is you're doing, you're helping people. I will look at your posts and people are like, yes, Chris, thank you, needed this, it's all good. I mean, I feel really humbled because nothing like that has happened to me. I mean, yes, had some shit in my life, but nothing like that's happened to me. Do you think that you have to have had real hardship to be able to experience real success, or do some people just breeze through it anyway and just get real success and never have a problem?
I don't think anything worthwhile is easy, right? And I do think that in darkness and adversity, you learn a lot about yourself. So I'm not saying you have to lose everything and try and commit suicide to find your purpose, but I do feel that there's a lot of self-entitlement in this world, a lot of there's a lack of permanency, or a lot of urgency and immediate. So I think that what happened to me at the time was it was the most horrendous thing that happened to me, but it's probably the best thing that happened to me. So I think in order to find real success, you have to look inward. You have to love yourself first. And everyone says that, but it's so true. So the answer to your question, I do think, I think you do need to go through some tough times to appreciate. You've got
to fail at something, haven't you?
Yeah, I appreciate nature, the trees, the water now, whereas before, when I was, Billy Big whatever, 28 multi-millionaire buying Rolexes and all that kind of for fun, it was just like I wasn't on the planet,
And you look back at that person now and think, oh, could you see, I mean, I don't mean to be rude, but you sound a bit of a tosser at the beginning. But now I watch you, now I talk to you, and you come across so differently. But I think you were so young then as well. You had so much success that how could you be anything other than a bit arrogant at that age? And then, of course, we don't want anything bad to happen to anybody. But actually, when something goes wrong and then you learn from it, that's what makes you stronger. That's what makes you who you are today. And you are anything other than that naughty word I use. You're a true gent, I'm very in line with your leadership style as well. It's all about emotional intelligence, looking after people, mindset, everything else. And I don't think you get to do that if you've never experienced some downfall. Melinda, sorry, I interjected. You were going to ask a question.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's interesting how, especially when we're young, everybody equates success with money. And so on paper, anybody would have looked at you, Chris, and been like, wow, he's crazy successful. I want to be just like that. Because they see the veneer, they see the flash, they see like you say, the Rolexes, the holidays, whatever else. But so many people miss that detail behind it, which is the substance part of it, which is the self-awareness that you've come to, grow Absolutely. With. And is that one of the things that's kind of driven you to want to help people so much, to help them find their perspective and their purpose earlier in life?
I think so. Without being too kind of woo-woo or spiritual, I'll talk about spirituality in a minute. I mean, I'm not particularly religious, but I do find myself being relatively spiritual at times. So I think that what I was going to say, I think that what's the question? I've completely lost track again. Can you ask me the question again?
I was more asking if the coaching that you're doing now,
the
program you have now, and around purpose, about if you think that that's partly informed by the fact that you had so much early success, but without the same level of purpose and substance behind it.
Yeah, I do think that we're born with a purpose in mind, and I feel that evolves. But I feel that without being too woo and too big-headed, I do have certain gifts. Everyone has certain gifts, and I think my calling, my purpose is to kind of teach and mentor people. And what I've been through, it wasn't great, but actually it's turning into something great. It's how you respond to that. So I think I'm using that as to my benefit and everyone else's benefit. So I love that, because it also teaches me as well. It's teaching me, how to be a better person as well. So that adversity has probably taught me more. My mistakes, my darkness has taught me way more than any of my other achievements.
Yeah, it's kind of It's kind of like there's that film some years ago with Jim Carrey in it, The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And it was, if you could erase memories of traumatic events, would you?
No.
And it's an interesting conundrum because, not with any spoilers, but some things we just have to experience in order to become who we're meant to be.
Yes.
And even though you went through an incredibly horrific period that no one would wish on anyone, you're certainly making strides at helping others avoid that same.
I really agree with that.
I think it's a massive inspiration to have someone who can sit there, openly admit everything that you've just openly admitted. And there's so many, I mean, we worry so much about young men and sort of middle-aged men as well, and the mental health crisis with them. Massive inspiration for them. Vanessa, is there any questions coming in?
Let's just have a quick look at the comments. So Dominic says, I'll just spin through these. Love the live, Chris.
Yeah, man. He's my buddy.
Oh, excellent. Richard says, thanks for your support. Amechi says, please connect with Chris, Sarah, Melinda, blah, blah, blah. Thank you. Sanjay says, wow, thanks for sharing. Well done, you. Funmi says, so sorry to hear this. It's close to my heart. She's already in tears. Bless you. Mohammed says, hi, how are you all? Jennifer says that she really appreciates your vulnerability, and she's just lost a friend to suicide last month, which is absolutely heartbreaking.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Honest and real one in this lovely world. There you go. I think that's
lots of love for you.
Chris Lomas from Hope For again, just inspirational. Chris, would love to connect. This is incredible. Excellent. If you're not already connected, you must. He's doing amazing things out there in Moldova. Janet says she's overwhelmed with your story, Chris. Great to know how you've overcome such trials in life. And Jennifer says, yes, the higher the highs, the lower the lows. Though I'd take that over flatline mediocrity. Thank you for speaking out about your very real reality. Most will eventually fall. And once you come out of the darkness, agree that you see the world's beauty. Is there something much more fully? With
lovely comments. Thank you so much for that. It's so nice.
Richard says, good questions. How's the queues? I don't know. Maybe they're talking to each other. I'm lost.
Something going on behind the scenes there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Deepika says, hi, great to tune into a webinar that's seriously impactful. May I ask why you personally believe empathy and compassion is so lacking amongst a vast population of rising leaders in big corporations? Why is it absent from the leadership?
Great question.
That's a really good question. It's something I'm asked quite a lot, actually. I just think it's the way society is indoctrinated, men and women, but men are told to go out and win but I think that's changed now. But I think we're indoctrinated on how we're managed, how we're led, how we're taught is to go and get a job. A doctor, a lawyer is a good job. And I think actually, working hard and, the old school way of kind of, if you work for me, you've got to run through a brick wall for me, and being a leader, being dictatorial and pointing fingers. I think that's how we were taught. So I do think that's changing, and I do think
changing.
People like Gary Vee are a good example of that. And I think that actually you get the human side of leadership is much more powerful than being told what to do. So I do think that the tide is turning, but I think the next generation actually, or this generation now, are completely different. I think life's changed more in the last 2 to 5 years than it has in the last 15 to 20, which I'm pleased about.
Yeah, and hopefully the whole win at all costs, don't care who you step on the way up will fade into history, because that was definitely, as I was new in the business world, it was like really cutthroat, some years ago when dinosaurs were also roaming the earth. But, it seems like I'm hoping there's a shift there, because people used to think to be a good manager, you had to basically be a jerk, just be a boss, be strong, but that's not that you should be a pushover, but there's someone in the middle that's actually quite good.
There's six levels of leadership, and what I find, and I don't know, Chris, whether you use any profiling tools or not, but I use one, and when I take people through it and they see the 6 levels of leadership, they go, I didn't know there was 6. They don't know what they don't know, and the problem, I think, Chris, I don't know if you'll agree with this, is we don't train people well enough to be leaders.
No.
We don't train them. We say, oh, go on and do an MBA, learn about numbers and do this and do that. But we don't teach people how to be leaders. We don't teach them to be empathetic. We don't teach them to coach. We don't teach them to lead. We teach them to bully, tell, manage.
Yes.
And until that changes, and like me, you're out there banging that drum, but it's slow, isn't it?
Yeah.
I reckon we need to get into the leadership schools.
Definitely. I mean, when my clients ask me to come in and grow their businesses, they say, look, we've got 10 people, want to get to 15, we're on 10 million, want to get to 30 million. Can you come in and help us do that? And I said, before I even do that, I want to know about you as a leader. I asked them questions like, when was the last time you cried? Talk to me about your home life. And, I think you've got to get to know the person. And I think a good leader knows which leadership hat to wear, to when and to whom. Some people respond to that kind of KPI, quite dictatorial approach. I think you do still need that to an extent, but it's a good to manage the individual, not the team, right?
Yeah, it's specific to who, what, when, and why, and how, isn't it?
Yeah, profit's important, but not at any cost.
Yes, no. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we obviously this I knew there'd be so much to get from you and to hear and to learn and to be inspired about, but you're here to talk to us about how to become the CEO of your life, which you have mastered, my friend. So what is it to be the CEO of your life? How do we do it? How do we buy one?
Well, give me a call. I think where I went wrong was I put 99.9% of my time into my business, and that grew it. But I lost relationships with my son and my family. So I think it's about looking at what's important to you. What's important to me is my business. What's important to me is my personal development. What's important to me is my health and fitness, my spirituality, my relationships, and my finances. So there's six things that I look at. And it's about actually, like, for the last couple of weeks, I haven't really exercised. So I'm going to move the dial the next couple of weeks to put more of my effort into exercise. I think it's impossible to have all the plates spinning, but it's writing down what's important to you. So things like exercise, personal development, health and fitness, and doing like an audit of your friends, the content that you absorb, the people you hang around with. It all adds into that. So you could be kind of doing really well in business, but if your personal life isn't very good, or you're not exercising, or you're not growing in your personal development, that's going to affect your business anyway. So I think in terms of being the CEO of your life, step away from your business and look at what else is important first, and apportion some time into those. Then you execute better in business as well. I think where people go wrong is they think that if I put all my eggs into the business basket, everything else will be all right. But what happens is, by the time you get your business to a level that you want to get it to,
you're broken.
You're burnt out.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a paradox that actually you can work less hours but produce more.
Well, and with fewer mistakes, right? Because how many times do you see foolish decisions coming about because someone is overtired, overstressed, not thinking clearly, and they're just like, yeah, just do this. And it's not the right thing, and it has serious consequences. Whereas if people have that space and they have the exercise and they have the time away from work, you actually work more efficiently and with clearer perspective to be able to make quality decisions.
I think it's also about you talk about awareness. It's about understanding what your strengths are and your areas of improvement. You can't be all things to all people, right? I've got my own coach. Tony Robbins has got, who coaches the coach, who leads the leader. I think understand what your strengths are and double down on those. Where you're weak, get someone else in to help you. Delegate. There's no ego in and that's the thing. I think ego gets in the way, or you think other people won't do it as good as you. More often than not, the people you delegate to can do things better than you anyway.
Well, you've got to be looking up, haven't you? And it's interesting what you say about people don't like to admit. I mean, I couldn't do my job if I didn't have a coach. We all need somebody in our corner. But I've been working with quite a lot of people with imposter syndrome who are absolutely adamant, I must not share their names, I cannot tell their stories. And even though they're getting through their imposter syndrome and feelings of self-doubt and everything, there's still this thing about, I'm going to look an idiot if someone thinks I'm not as confident as I should be. And I'm sorry, but you can be totally capable and slightly less confident and still be a better person than the overconfident who thinks he's overcapable or she's overcapable.
Totally.
But it's this stigma again, isn't it? Is we just need to keep talking about it. And I think the way you share and the way you talk will really help people just admit that they're not 100% perfect all the time.
I've
normalizing the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is with me now, I can pretty much see people coming a mile off when they're wearing that mask, because I was that person myself. Like I see these overconfident people, and I can see it is actually not real. And I think I think vulnerability is a bit of a superpower, right? And I think it's just about being yourself as a leader. You don't have to become this stoic warrior. Be yourself.
Yeah, and when you do, everything starts to fall into place. So as we're doing this, obviously we need to watch out for burnout and things like that.
Yeah.
But what do we need to be looking out for? And you've talked about having a coach or a mentor or somebody in your corner to support you. Is there anything else that you'd recommend that people invest in? Because it is an investment, and it's not just money, it's time, isn't it? I talk about slowing down to speed up, and
I say that all the time. Did you get that from me, or did I get it from you? That's the
question. You got it from me, buddy. You got it from me. No, I don't know. I think we know it, don't we? And there's two people that go very, very fast. Yeah. We know that when we slow down, we're better. So it doesn't matter where it came from. It's ace. But is there anything else that you would add?
I think it's about being accountable to yourself, and I think I parent myself quite a lot. So I believe that talking to yourself is the highest form of sanity as opposed to insanity. So, without delving too deep into my inner sanctum of, well, I've given you pretty much a lot, but in my bedroom, I've got a whiteboard in my bedroom.
Where are we going, Chris?
Well,
where are we going?
I've got this whiteboard in my bedroom. It's got my values on there, right? It's got courage and other values on there, and it's got other affirmations like respect yourself, and there's look inward and smile. I love you, Chris. So when I wake up, as soon as I wake up and before I go to bed, I'm absorbing this kind of stuff. I walk into my bathroom mirror, I look myself in the eye, I tell myself I love myself, and I do some meditation. So I think it's about, look, everyone's different. So what I'm saying isn't a one size fits all approach, but for me, it's about, if I start the day with a bit of, I've got a balcony, I walk on the balcony, have a cup of coffee, and I'm in nature. So I'm starting to, so no matter what happens, right, I'm very skilled at this now. But 2 weeks ago, I had a bit of a mental health thing, and it kind of got me. None of us are out in the woods, but doing stuff like that, it kind of mitigates that self-talk. So it's how you talk to yourself, the feelings and thoughts that you have. So you got to start with yourself. So I think we fall into the trap what I did of like, or I better go and check my social media, or I better go and please that other person, or what is that other person thinking about? Is what you think of yourself, and that sounds very obvious. So that takes a lot of rewiring, and I think it's about looking inward. And more often than not, when bad stuff happens to you, right, or you think you've been done over by somebody, I now look at that and go, actually, instead of feeling resentment or anger towards that person, what role or what part did I play in that? And I think it's really important that you say don't pull the wool over your eyes and say to yourself, actually, I didn't really communicate very well with her, did I? So I'm not surprised she's like that. It's about being honest and being accountable yourself, and then everything else falls into place.
Absolutely.
I was going to say 2 years ago, I just started doing the Miracle Morning, and that's all about gratitude, meditation, affirmations, and all that. And it's absolutely life-changing. Yeah. And then what you were saying there, about gratitude and just reading the book Good to Great, it's when something goes wrong, do you look out of the window and point because it's somebody else's fault, or do you look at yourself and think, what could I have done better? What what happened to that? How can I improve? How can I protect myself from that happening again? But looking inward rather than looking for something.
Right. I've had relationships, right? Some bad relationships. I attracted the wrong women in my life. Not anymore, but they used to treat me like shit. They'd be narcissists, or I'll use all the names under the sun, and they're probably right, but actually I still attracted that, and I still could have done it. And now it's like I've got no resentment, and I've forgiven that situation. I think that's the level you got to get to. It's almost like barring the most heinous of stuff, and I appreciate there's always exemptions, but I think 9 times out of 10 there's always something that you could have done differently in that situation, and that's when you start to grow.
You absolutely do. And getting people to stop and accept that is a really interesting challenge for a coach, isn't it? Because a lot of people don't want to. But if they're investing in themselves without doing that, you don't move forward. Okay. Are there any other comments or anything you want to bring in?
So many comments.
I was going to say, it's been a bit wild in the comments section.
Yeah. But Joe agrees, hold the mirror up. But like, oh my goodness, so many.
Love Joe.
So Karen said you'd be surprised when people have been through some form of trauma. It makes us the person we are today. Amechi says leadership styles are evolving for a variety of reasons, not least because people haven't actively started to call out bad leadership. This is very true. And what you said about the last 2 years, there's been so much growth in so many things. We've come so far forward in every walk of life, I think. Obviously, with our leadership at the top, there's been some bit of going backward as well, but we'll ignore that. And then Jennifer
So it's
says,
not political.
the bullies bully, tell, manage versus lead.
Yeah.
Great insight into how we're trained to manage. Danny says he sees narcissism traits and evidence come through in many leadership psychometrics, but it is waning.
Yeah.
Jennifer says she loves the spinning plates analogy. Balance is key and challenging. In a minute, can you go through the different, you said there were 6 things you need to kind of look at. So let's, the spinning plates, let's just repeat them, because I was scribbling them down, but I think it'd help everyone else. Agree, playing with the throttles of all pillars is key. Thank you for articulating so much. Once you've written down what is important to you, pay attention to how this compares to how you are behaving. Be curious about how aligned these are. Chris Lomas says this resonates so much with me, learning to slow down in order to speed up. I think we all need to do that, don't we?
Yeah, definitely.
There's an old saying from the Amish country in Pennsylvania where I grew up, and it was the hurrier I go, the behinder I get. And I do think of that regularly because, it's just with anything, the more you rush, the more mistakes you make, you have to do rework or things will just go wrong. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Edna says, insightful indeed. The challenges we go through sometimes propel us to very high levels of growth that leave us amazed at how far we have come. It's very good to look back, isn't it? There are probably some more. I'm sorry if I've missed them, but let's crack on.
So you want to go back to those six plate spinnings?
Yeah, and then carry on. Yeah, but just
so business, personal development, health and fitness, purpose or spirituality, which one you want. Relationships, and then finance and wealth. So finance is kind of like what you earn on a yearly basis, but wealth is like, what your assets basically.
right.
So
Does that, Chris, just to ask you a question, because many years ago, before I started doing the coaching I'm doing now, I did a bit of life coaching training, and they have that life wheel, don't they?
Yeah.
Is that the sort of thing? And if you do it 0 to 10, I remember them saying if it isn't if they aren't all rounded, you've got a wobbly ride.
That's very similar to that. It is very similar to that, and I go quite deep. So relationships is a good one, right? If you're having poor relationships, you can't possibly have, good business relationships as well. But I do rate them out of 10. But I also like to tie my values to those 6 as well. So what values do you put into your business? And I think that's an overused word, isn't it? And I make my decisions based on my values. I think that's a really important point to make.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we've got all 6, and it's not, as you said earlier, it's not about having them all at 10 out of 10. It's about keeping an eye on them and making sure if one's dropping, you go back to it and keep it all in check. Okay, right. What else do we need to know?
How about some top tips or something?
Yeah, well, I was going to say the benefits of doing this. You are living and breathing the benefits of doing this. People are coming to you. You are getting one NED request after another. In fact, I think I said to you a couple of weeks ago, how are you doing it all? How are you getting another one? You're like, it's fine. Another more juggling going on. But, what else do we need to know? Are there anything else that we should watch out for? Anything else we need to know? And then I'd love to hear a little bit more about this 1,000 women, but we are going to run out of time soon. So squeeze you for as much information as possible.
I think it is about making the right decisions in your life, and I think if even if your family, your friends, your colleagues, your clients aren't serving you, you've got to be ruthless. I mean, I've distanced myself from the majority of my family, and I've removed myself from some friends, and it's about having an audit and being really honest with yourself. Basically, I think that's one of and looking inward and self-care. So there, in terms of, I'm working probably less hard than what I did when I was running my big business, but I'm earning more money. So I run 12 businesses now. I've got 2 children, or 3 in total. I've got I'm a podcast host. I've got like 7 or 8 things going on, but I find that I'm executing a lot better because I'm talking to myself in the right way, and I'm ruthless with my time. So I think time, the amount of time we waste. I used to watch TV every night. I used to kind of like scroll through social media. Now I spend my time listening to podcasts or doing some exercise, or I'm looking at the 6 things and go, actually, let's do some personal development instead of watching like something on TV. And I just think like everyone's different, right? But I think that if I'm not growing in one of those 6 capacities on a daily basis, I start to question and I get quite depressed. I'm not saying you have, don't get me wrong, now and again I have the odd down day when I'm watching TV and I'm eating donuts and that kind of stuff. But I think you've got to find out what you really want in life, right?
Yeah, I love donuts.
When you said about outsource what you're not good at, I was thinking maybe I can outsource the exercise.
Yeah.
I'm not
It's
sure
probably
that
not the
helps.
right decision, is
I
it?
really fancy a donut now, I said that.
I'm not sure that helps. Do we have any other questions or comments to finish off on before we disappear? But while they're coming in, Chris, just tell us a little bit more about this 1,000 Women Wonderful People thing.
Yeah.
What's it for? Why'd you do it?
I mean, on one hand, you could say, look, you know, I've had some bad experiences with women, but I just think that, you know, there's some incredible women out there. Most of my friends are women. But anyway, I put a post out last Friday, just, you know, 30 inspirational women from LinkedIn that I've got on well with, but that are doing some incredible work. And I said, please tag any other inspirational women. And then within 48 hours, it went from 30 to 700. And then by another day later, went up to like 900. And I'm thinking, what? And then I spoke to, and then it was Joe Major on here who gave me the idea actually of doing this directory, Joe Major. And then it's now ready to be published where we've got 1,251. We've actually got nearly 2,000, but 1,251 issue 1, where we're going to have, they're all going to be indexed. There's going to be a directory where everyone can access these wonderful women straight into their LinkedIn. And it's categorized. We've got leadership coaches, we've got wellbeing people, we've got, you know, my plan is to get that to 10,000, where the reason why I've done it is I do feel that, yes, there are lots of industrials for men, parental alienation, and, you know, the way some men have been treated is bad. But I think there is, women are disadvantaged or have been disadvantaged. And I just want to give something back to that and give a nod to all forms of women and say, actually, there's plenty of great women out there. And I think just to address some of the balances, basically. Well,
thank you. I mean, we're all fighting a bit of a battle still, but I think it's getting better, and I find it utterly fascinating from a psychology point of view, how you started and how you are being now. It's got to be a bit of self-healing, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's kind of you want to give back, but you also want to build your. I'm no psychologist. You build your relationship and with powerful women, because you had such a horrible experience at the beginning.
It's kind of taking control back.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I meant.
There we go. We'll do it together as well. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Oh, she's proud of you.
Yeah, I'm proud of. She's a good friend. I'm very proud. I'm meeting her later on, actually.
Are you? Yeah. Oh, well, be careful out there, kids. It's hot.
Yeah.
So what does Jo do, by the way? Jo Major, what does she do?
Jo is an exceptional D&I expert. So anything to do with D&I, she's the go-to person with that. She's brilliant.
Cool. So. All right. Well, Jo, thanks for joining us today. We literally have a couple of minutes left. So Melinda, Vanessa, I don't know if you have any questions you want to ask Chris before we lose him to London and the heat.
Go for it.
Oh, I was just going to say, Chris, thank you for being here. But do you have like one tip or something that people could do today to kind of start to make that positive change in life?
I think the only person that you need to worry about what you think about you is yourself. And that's a basic statement, but I think all too often we try to impress people. So when I'm going back to my whiteboard, I've got improve, not impress. So what I try to do is, when I action something or decide something, am I doing this to impress somebody else, or am I going to improve? So for me, it's about compare yourself with yourself. And everyone says it, but don't
fall into it. You've got to mean it, though, haven't you? You've got to mean it.
That's a terrific phrase, actually, because I think a lot of us, it's very easy to get caught up in the image and the appearance and what others think. And then somehow that undermines your own personal integrity and self-worth. So thank you.
It's amazing. Oh, I've got 400 likes. Everyone likes me. Well, they don't really, but I still hate myself. You know, what's the point of doing that? You know, it's literally once you get to that mechanic and you change it around. And I think you can have everything. So going back to the whole before we go, going back to the kind of whole money and purpose thing, you can be rich in purpose and fulfillment and also wealth as well. I'm not saying you have to trade one for another. It's just about getting that right balance, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Vanessa, how about you? Sorry, I jumped in front.
No, I think it's so difficult, isn't it? I mean, you said you look in the mirror and tell yourself, "I love you, Chris." You know, and it's so difficult to do, isn't it? I think kind of building up to that with affirmations is a good way to start, isn't it? To say, "I am strong, I am confident, I can do this."
Yeah,
you know,
I
and yeah.
I think it's about feeling as well. So like, you know, I'll do some breathing and I'll put my hand on my heart and I think it's, you know, getting in tune with your heart and your feelings, to get out of your head as well. You know, it's not all about you. So, you know, go inward. And I think that really helped me anyway.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
we're out of time. Chris, thank you for joining us today and sharing your story, for being vulnerable, for being honest. And just for, I think, inspiring all of us, but anyone else that's watching as well, that things can go horribly wrong, and then they can go horribly right again if you work on it. And please connect in with Chris if you're not already. Follow him on LinkedIn and all his other social media channels. And we'd love to have you back one day if we can hear what's going on next, because God knows what's going to happen in the next 2 years. I mean,
watch this space.
Watch this space. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. And thanks for watching, everybody. And
Thanks
we
for
will
everybody
see you next week.
joining.
Thanks. Bye.